Carrie Lam defends decision to postpone LegCo elections. Germany suspends extradition treaty with Hong Kong as authorities issue arrest warrants for Hong Kongers abroad on national security charges. And more deaths from COVID, plus another day in which more than 100 new cases are reported to health authorities.
Good evening and welcome. The chief executive is claiming politics had nothing to do with the decision to delay the Legislative Council elections. Carrie Lam says it was purely based on public health concerns.
In an interview with TVB today, Lam was also defiant when asked if she feared international sanctions in retaliation for the delay. Pinky Wong reports.
This is a very difficult decision for me and the Executive Council. This decision is made purely on the basis of the public health concerns.
Yesterday, the government invoked emergency powers to delay the LegCo elections to September 5th next year. The CE admitted to the uncertainties ahead.
It is now uncertain what will happen to Hong Kong's Legislative Council in the next 12 months. That's why I have sought support and help from the central government. The central government has expeditiously replied to me saying that yes, they support our decision and they will make a submission to the National People's Congress Standing Committee for a decision. The content of a decision is not yet available, so we will have to wait and see.
Tong Chi-hwa, vice chairman of the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, voiced support for the decision to delay the polls. Earlier this week, 12 pro-democracy nominees for the now postponed elections were barred from running due to that political census. Pan-Democrats were aiming to win a majority in LegCo. Lam called that a pure resisting strategy against the government.
Having regard to the experience we have with the Legislative Council in the last 12 months, I'm not very optimistic that we will have more peaceful days. The most important and essential one is the annual budget. Without the Legislative Council approving a budget by law, we will have no money to continue operating beyond the 1st of April.
The Pan-Democrats accused the government of using the coronavirus outbreak as an excuse to delay the vote, causing a far-reaching impact from the resulting legislative vacuum. They said the delay is a self-made constitutional crisis which invites Beijing to ravage the city's LegCo election. As for mounting international pressure,
this time around, they would place me very high on their list of people that they would like to sanction. But I'm doing things for the people of Hong Kong, so I have no worry that people will do this sort of thing to me. That's why I take it very casually. But on a very serious note, if they are threatening sanctions against Hong Kong, then we will rebut.
Lam said there were certain retaliation plans in hand should there be sanctions, but she didn't elaborate. With some Hong Kongers intending to leave the city due to the national security law, the CE had this to say.
I hope in time, with the facts being seen by everyone, people will be able to dispel their fears or suspicions and know that this is the best place to be.
Pinky Wong, TVB News.
Well, meanwhile, the White House is slamming the decision to delay the LegCo elections, saying it undermines Hong Kong's democratic freedoms.
We condemn the Hong Kong government's decision to postpone for 1 year its Legislative Council elections and to disqualify opposition candidates. This action undermines the democratic processes and freedoms that have underpinned Hong Kong's prosperity, and this is only the most recent in a growing list of broken promises by Beijing, which promised autonomy and freedoms to the Hong Kong people until 2047 in the Sino-British Joint Declaration.
Chinese state media is reporting that Hong Kong authorities have issued arrest warrants for 6 pro-democracy activists who fled the city and are suspected of violating national security laws.
Afterwards, Germany, whose authorities granted asylum to one of those wanted, suspended its extradition treaty with Hong Kong. Haley Joe has more.
Maybe I love Hong Kong too much. That's what democracy activist Nathan Law said in an interview when he was talking about what national security offenses he possibly could have committed. This after state media reported last night that Law and 5 others were put on a warning list on suspicion of secession or colluding with foreign forces, national security offenses that could put them away for life. Law said he would cut off ties with his family members in Hong Kong, stressing his overseas advocacy work has no political connection with anyone in the city. The 5 others include former UK consular staff member Simon Cheng, Hong Kong Democracy Council member Samuel Chu, based in the US, and former member of the pro-independence group Hong Kong Indigenous, Ray Wong, who was charged in connection with the 2016 Mongkok unrest. He escaped bail and fled to Germany, where he has been granted asylum. All 6 denied their charges. The national security law states it can be applied to crimes committed in countries around the world after it takes effect. Following the news, Germany suspended its extradition treaties with Hong Kong in a move taken by several other democracies. In an interview with a local newspaper, Wong said the German government contacted him shortly before the announcement and assured him that he would not be deported back to Hong Kong. Germany urged China to live up to its legal responsibilities under international law. So far, the Hong Kong police have not confirmed these reports. Haley Zhou, TVB News.
To the coronavirus now, and amid growing concerns over the government response to COVID-19 infections in Hong Kong, case numbers continue to soar. 125 cases were reported today, bringing the city's tally to 3,396.
And 4 more people have died from the disease, taking the local death toll to more than 30. All eyes are on a direct marketing company selling imported goods located at the basement of a building in Mongkok, Star Global. Including the 7 workers who are confirmed with the virus today, a total of 17 employees of Star Global have now been infected. Authorities say over 100 people have attended trainings organized by the firm, and there's much more to follow up on.
We're quite risky, as a lot of them seems to be unmasked. Cases are mostly young ladies to 20 to 30s. They could be very slight symptom and then aware that they may get infected, thus they may carry out a lot of activities and also be quite socially active, which may contribute to further spreading.
3 more workers of the Shengshui slaughterhouse have also come down with the virus. Meanwhile, a doctor at the Caritas Medical Center has initially tested positive for the virus. A family member of his came down with the virus yesterday, which is also the same day the doctor stopped working. Here's a word from the authorities.
We also observe some extended family clusters. For example, the grandparents and the children or the aunties, and because they have some family gatherings during weekends and as usual. So I think we may have to stop this practice for 1 or 2 weeks. Once any one of them get infected, and it is very likely that the other members of the family will get infected, especially we want to protect the elderly.
4 more patients have died from the coronavirus, bringing the local death toll to 31. All of them are elderly people with chronic diseases, which authorities say could increase the chance of complications after they are infected. A makeshift hospital for COVID patients in stable condition began operations today at the Asia World Expo.
Dong Yao visited the venue before patients arrived.
Hospital beds were in place at Hall 1 of Asia World Expo, awaiting its first batch of residents. It is Hong Kong's first makeshift treatment center for COVID-19 inpatients in stable condition, with an aim to ease the burden at overloaded public hospitals. The beds are divided into 2 areas for male and female patients. Each lives in an open ward.
This is our first time to have the inpatient care service to be extended to the community, and different from the CIF in the Lei Yun Mun. There will be more like a hospital.
Doctors and nurses will be on 24-hour shifts in full protective gear, but they will mainly communicate with patients remotely to reduce transmission risks, with CCTV and phone calls on a daily basis. Patients' health is monitored by a digital-based system.
Each day, patients will conduct self-health checks at these e-health stations. They will monitor their temperature, blood pressure, and oxygen saturation. The whole process takes 5 to 10 minutes. Authorities say it is also a way to engage patients.
Doctors will be alerted right away of any abnormal vital signs. While patients are restricted in the hall, they can move freely among the wards. But the government health advisor warns that these could cause in-house cross-infections.
The patient should not walk around freely. They should stay around in the bed.
Hospital authority is confident current facilities, including an air ventilation system, can prevent transmission of the virus. At around noon, patients started to arrive in ambulances. Authorities say 20 to 30 patients will move in today. 100 beds in the center are now ready to use.
The Asia Expo actually has room to be looking after more patients. I think if need be, it can increase up to 2,000 beds.
Authorities have promised to increase capacity, but have yet to announce a timetable. Dong Yao-Nie, TVB News.
Meanwhile, 7 medics from the mainland will arrive in Hong Kong tomorrow to assist with COVID-19 nucleic acid test work in the city. Beijing had earlier decided to send a team of 60 people to Hong Kong to help with COVID-19 testing at the request of the SAR government. The team is comprised of medical staff from some 20 hospitals in Guangdong province. The first 7 people to arrive are expected to assist in laboratory work. The Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office says the medics will also assist Hong Kong in building temporary quarantine and treatment centers.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he will take action as soon as today to ban TikTok, a popular Chinese-owned video app used by millions of Americans. Trump told reporters Friday that his administration is banning the app over national security and censorship concerns. Trump's comments came after published reports that the administration was planning to order Chinese owner ByteDance to sell TikTok. There were also reports that software giant Microsoft was in talks to buy the app. Trump said he could use emergency economic powers or an executive order to enforce the action. In a statement, TikTok said it won't comment on rumors or speculation, but it is confident in the long-term success of TikTok. Still ahead on tonight's news, a dozen Marines feared dead after training exercise goes horribly wrong off Southern California coast. And Taiwan pays its last respects to former President Lee Teng-hui.
A warm welcome back to TVB News. Hurricane Isaias picked up steam as it tore across the Caribbean today.
With sustained winds of 135 kilometers per hour, the Category 1 storm is expected to crash into the U.S. state of Florida later today. Forecasters at the National Hurricane Center say the storm will unleash more damage as it heads northwest. Residents in the Bahamas were securing buildings ahead of the storm's arrival, while motorists rushed to gas up. Officials ordered evacuations from higher-risk areas. As the storm churns towards Florida, a state of emergency has been declared for a dozen counties, with public facilities being closed. Authorities are telling people to make sure they have a plan and a few days' worth of supplies. Juno Beach local Noel Garcia is rushing to secure his fragile trailer home.
I want to protect my property, and I can't afford to work another 30 years to get another one.
During a round table with the president, Florida's governor called it a very fluid situation.
I think it's pretty clear we will get, at a minimum, tropical storm force wind impacts, likely hurricane force wind impacts.
The storm's already passed through Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, and I've approved emergency declarations for both of those areas.
The hurricane's approach has forced the closure of some outdoor coronavirus testing sites in Florida, even as the state continues to tally record daily deaths. The forecast track shows the hurricane pushing north along the eastern seaboard through next week. A massive search mission is underway after a marine vehicle sank in hundreds of feet of water off the Southern California coast.
So far, 1 Marine is dead out of 8 rescued, while 7 others and a sailor are still missing. As Leslie Tang reports, this marks yet another accident in which Camp Pendleton Marines were killed or injured while using amphibious assault vehicles.
The amphibious assault vehicle was carrying 15 Marines and a sailor who were taking part in a routine military exercise. Their vehicle was headed back to a Navy ship when water started seeping in just off of San Diego. Marine authorities said other vehicles tried to respond, but could not stop the 26-ton tank-like vehicle from quickly sinking.
Search and rescue efforts are ongoing to find them. This mishap is under investigation, and we will share the results of it once it is complete and the families have been notified. In the meantime, I've directed an immediate suspension of amphibious assault vehicle water operations until the causal factors of this mishap are better understood. All AAVs across the fleet will be inspected.
Authorities assume it sank straight to the bottom.
The water drops off very quickly. So the AAV is actually in several hundred feet of water. It's really below the depth that a diver can go to.
The U.S. Marines said the Navy and Coast Guard are providing resources that can handle the depth of the water. They said they have not moved into recovery operations yet. This accident marks the 3rd time in recent years that Camp Pendleton Marines have been injured or died in amphibious assault vehicles during training exercises. Leslie Tang, TVB News.
News Corp founder Rupert Murdoch's son James is resigning from the family-controlled Publishers Board. He says the resignation is due to disagreements over certain editorial content published by the company's news outlets and certain other strategic decisions. The resignation was effective Friday. James is known as the more liberal Murdoch brother. His more conservative sibling, Lachlan, is the heir apparent to his father, Rupert, who is News Corp's executive chairman.
Closer to home in Taiwan is paying respects to former President Lee Teng-hui. A popular leader brought full democracy to Taiwan while incurring the wrath of the Chinese Communist Party in the process. Among the visitors was current President Tsai Ing-wen, who wrote in a book of condolences that Lee will forever be watching over democratic Taiwan. Lee stood up to constant intimidation from Beijing and helped to create a separate democratic identity for Taiwan, ushering in the island's first direct presidential elections in 1996. Japan's chief representative in Taiwan also paid his respects, saying Lee laid the foundation for a free and democratic Taiwan of today. Lee died on Thursday at the age of 97 after suffering a lengthy illness.
The strong wind signal number 3 remains in force. The observatory said a tropical depression over the central and northern parts of the South China Sea has been strengthening gradually. It is expected to move west-northwest at about 18 kilometers per hour towards the vicinity of Hainan Island.
The strong wind signal number 3 is now in force. It is expected to remain in force for a period of time overnight tonight. Seas will be rough with swells. Members of the public are advised to stay away from the shoreline and not to engage in water sports.
That's the news for tonight. Thanks for watching.
Good night.